Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to this edition of All-Star Financial, where we cover financial news, bookkeeping, tax, payroll, and take questions from the audience. In this edition, we'll be discussing the latest stimulus package that the House of Representatives just passed on Friday, May 15th, called the HEROES Act, which stands for Health and Economic Recovery Omnibus Emergency Solutions Act. That is quite a mouthful. And the package being a $3 trillion value in its current state definitely is quite a mouthful as well. So let's go ahead and get into some of the details with this thing. Now granted, this package is absolutely massive and covers far-ranging implications for a lot of things. Some of the most widespread elements of it include another round of checks to families, $1,200 per person based upon a single filing status from last year's tax return or this year's if you had already filed prior to the last one, and $500 per child. So let's say you have a married filing jointly couple with 2 kids. You're looking at $2,400 for the parents, another $1,000 for the kids, another $3,400 check coming in via direct deposit or checks, depending on whether or not you've got that direct deposit account information set up with your bank. But the difference is, with this one, the funding is capped at $6,000, which means that no matter what you could potentially be eligible for, you cannot get a payout of more than $6,000. And fundamentally, based upon a married filing joint status, you would have to have a lot of kids to max out $6,000. And I can only imagine what you must be dealing with. Oh my goodness, that's a lot to deal with in this quarantine state where daycares and schools are closed. You have all those kids running around. Oh my goodness. I feel for you, man. That's your position. A new addition to this bill that was not in the previous check-based stimulus bill is the fact that there's been a lot of outcry about low-income employees and quote-unquote essential workers who have had to go work for essential companies during this shutdown, where while a lot of people have been filing unemployment, a lot of businesses have been shut down. Those companies that have still been operating through this, their employees having to leave the quarantine of their home, report to an office, interact with other people, put themselves at so-called risk. Now, I'm not saying that they're not at risk. I'm not saying that they are or not. I'm not a medical professional. What I'm saying is that they are considered by definition of this bill an essential employee, and by being exposed to other people who could or could not, because the virus is asymptomatic in a lot of people. Therefore, there's no way of knowing if the person you're talking to is a carrier and doesn't know it or what. And based upon that, if you are a low-income individual and you're in a working position like that, they want to provide you hazard pay. The details of that would have to be tuned out as far as where you would cap low income and what criteria, how much you'd be paying them for hazard pay. But for a soundbite, it sounds great on the media. Another element here is they want to extend the raised unemployment. Like normally, let's say for example, you were getting $389 in eligibility for unemployment under standard unemployment benefits. The previous bill bumped that up $600. You would be getting $989 a week for like 10 weeks under that package with the unemployment benefits. This bill would take that and shoot it straight through to January 2021. And that in of itself, basically, those lower paying jobs where $900 a month is more than you'd be making full-time anyway, would basically keep these people on unemployment throughout the duration, because what incentive do they have to try and beat that in the market if it's that much higher than what they were making? Now, some key points to this, okay? And the reason why I state in this thing that the House passes on Friday, May 15th, but the Senate has yet to even take it up. As of today, I saw that Mitch McConnell, the Senate leader, said he's in no rush to even discuss this bill, let alone go to a vote on this. Fundamentally, they're still trying to get their heads around the previous bills. You still have 4 previous spending bills on the play here. And one of them was a massive $2.2 trillion bill that gave us our first checks. Now, of those checks, only 120 million people out of 320 million people in the country have even received that funding, and I personally know people who have not received the full $2,400 as a married filing joint living with 2 kids. And while a lot of people I know have received their checks, not everyone has. And fundamentally, the Senate recognizes that they're still trying to allocate and distribute the funds that have already been prepared and attributed to the previous bills. You have 4 bills they're still trying to get resources to. The money's been allocated, the money's been set aside, the money's been given to these various agencies, but the money hasn't been fully exhausted yet. Granted, the one bill prior to this to replenish unemployment benefits from that 10-week $600 hike, that had to get replenished. I get that. But when you've got a $2.2 trillion spending bill on top of everything else they've been doing, and they're still trying to get resources where they need to be, the Senate's like, hey, put the brakes on all these spending bills. Let's use what we already have signed off on and approved on, and the president's already given us, and we've allocated to these different government agencies. We've got got these hospitals that are half empty. We got the ships that were turned back from California and New York. We've got all these defibrillators and ventilators and everything else sitting in warehouses not being used, and we put all these resources into providing to people. At this point in time, from what I'm seeing in the news, that the supply greatly exceeds the demand. So therefore, given that situation, they need to assess, based upon everything that's still available from the previous 4 bills, where we need to take care of all that funding, allocate that where it needs to be, and then see where we stand before we worry about throwing more money. Yes, I realize that a lot of people would love to get the hazard pay for going to the jobs during this quarantine. A lot of people would love to get another round of checks because they've been, a lot of people, because 20-30 million people have been put out of work with the quarantine. Their jobs have shut down. They haven't been able to go to work. They could use the money. I get that. I'm fully sympathetic with that. At the same time, you still got hundreds of millions of dollars floating out there that had yet to be allocated and processed by the federal government to the resources they were allocated to. So the Senate has not taken this bill up yet for discussion, let alone vote. And until they do that, and until this gets sent off to the president, this doesn't actually exist yet. This could end up like the Green New Deal, where they take it on and they just get shut down. We don't know that. But at least the Green New Deal was immediately voted for, and we got a verdict on this. This one, McConnell's not even interested in entertaining this just yet. He wants to exhaust a la carte signed and distributed funds. So that's where we stand on the HEROES Act. It makes a wonderful soundbite for the news, but fundamentally, because it has not been signed into law yet, it technically doesn't even exist yet. It's wonderful for some headlines. Feel free to follow the news, as I have been, but it doesn't actually exist yet. Not until it gets signed into law, and the Senate hasn't even taken it up for discussion. So I want to know. I would love to hear what you all think about what I think. What do you think about the bill? Do you think it should get passed? Do you think the Senate should vote on it? Do you think they should pass it or squash it? I would love to know all your thoughts and opinions and comments in the section below. Please let me know what you think. And until next time, I look forward to keeping you informed with financial news, bookkeeping tips, payroll details, tax knowledge, and any questions you may have in the comments. I look forward to hearing from all of you. Have a wonderful day.